Hi, welcome to Soul Food. I'm Richard Ingraham and I'm joined today by my good friend Ray from the Hospitality Institute of Miami-Dade College. Today, we're going to learn about salmon. If you're anything like me, you love salmon, but sometimes, with this health conscious craze that we're on right now, you kind of find, it's kind of hard to find different ways to eat salmon. So we're going to show you a couple of different ways today. First thing that we're going to do is I'm actually going to show you how to skin salmon. Sometimes you go to the store and you buy a piece of salmon, the skin is still on there, and when you get home, you're like, oh my God, I don't know how to take the skin off. So we're going to alleviate that problem, and I'm going to show you how to do that today. Then we're also going to make an awesome salmon tartare today, and we're going to make a watermelon salsa to go along with another dish that we're going to do where we're going to actually show you how to crisp up the side of a salmon, and just like you find it in the restaurant. So it's a couple of different things we're going to do today with salmon, and I hope you stay tuned to enjoy it. Now, the first thing that we want to do is to take our salmon like we have right here. We have a whole side of salmon, and what I've done is you're going to have, when you buy your salmon, you're going to have a little small flap that's right on the side that's very, very thin. And what you want to do is go ahead and cut that off. And the reason you're cutting that off, you don't want to throw it away because you can always use it to make a stir fry or something like that. But when you're going to cook a nice big piece of salmon, that little piece right there doesn't cook properly. It'll cook faster than the larger piece of salmon. So you want everything to have the right cooking temperature, and you want it to come out the same. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to take a look at our salmon, and as you see, it has the skin on. Okay, real nice and beautiful. The first thing you want to do is to take your salmon and take a look, and as you see right along the sides here, you have a little flap of skin, which is right underneath that nice beautiful meat that we have. You want to take a towel like so, put it over here to the side. You want to take a very, very sharp knife, put your finger right on the edge of that skin, just like so, and you want to take your knife and at a nice angle, go right underneath and start to just go right underneath that nice meat that they have right here, and go under, and you form a nice little pocket. Once you do that, what you're doing at this point is you're giving yourself some space. And after you create that space, you want to take your towel and grab a hold of that, and then we're going to take our knife and go ahead and skin the rest of the salmon. So let's go ahead and do that. So now that we have this little space, we're going to take our towel, and I'm kind of used to not using a towel, but I think it will be a lot easier for you at home to use the towel on this method. So now you can hold the towel, and it's not going to slip off of that skin, as you can see. Okay? So now you want to take your knife, hold it down low, just like so, and you start, and you can stop and take a look and see what you're doing, and you see right now that you're doing a pretty good job, obviously, if it looks this way. So now you keep that knife flat, and now that it's like this, you can hold it and just continue to go, and hopefully it doesn't move off like that, but you can continue to go straight down your piece of salmon just like so. And now you can actually wiggle that skin just like this, hold that knife down, and boom, there you are. The skin is off. Now, this is what it's supposed to look like on the other side when you're done, just like that. Now, you don't want to toss this skin away, because you can actually take it and deep fry it, and it can be a real nice garnish for you, okay, to use on your tuna tartare or your salmon tartare, or whatever it is that you want to do. But today we're going to go ahead and toss this because we're not going to use it. Okay? Give our hands a wash. And next we're going to move right into our salmon tartare. Now that you have your salmon cut, first thing that you want to do is to take a nice piece of your salmon and give it a nice little cut. We'll take this, and if you would, Ray, put that into the refrigerator for me. I appreciate it. Now, tartare is cutting your meat into small bite-sized pieces, raw meat. So you have tuna tartare, you have steak tartare, but today, of course, we're going to use salmon. Now, one way to get your salmon to cut a little bit easier would be to actually take it and put it into the refrigerator and let it get real nice and cold. When it gets cold, that meat firms up and then you can get an easier slice, okay? But today we're gonna go ahead and use it this way. And as you see, you wanna go ahead now and just cut it into nice smaller pieces, just like this. And if they seem to get a little bit too large, you can come and you can cut that salmon once more this way at an angle, and then start back in and make smaller pieces out of it, just like so. Okay. Go ahead and give it a cut right down the middle. And you can start cutting again. One thing that you always want to remember, and I will always continue to show you, is that you want to use that claw hand. That claw hand is where you take your fingers, groove them all together, and put it right at the edge of where you want to cut, whether it's salmon, a bell pepper, onion, and this will guard your fingers from being cut or getting cut by the knife. Now, once we finish cutting up this salmon, the next thing that we're going to do is to take it and put it inside the refrigerator and let it sit for a while so it can get nice and cool. And you want to make sure that the salmon that you're using, the beef that you're using, the tuna that you're using, whenever you're doing a tartare, is of top grade quality, because you have to remember, this is raw. This is a raw product. So you don't want to have an inferior product going inside your system, especially if it's raw. So you want to make sure that it's sushi grade tuna, sushi grade salmon, or a very high grade of beef or buffalo if you're going to do like a beef tartare or a tartare using meat. Okay? So now we have our salmon, as you see, it's cut up, and we'll take that, put it inside of a bowl, and then we'll put that inside of our refrigerator just to hold. And then we'll go into making our marinade for our tartare. Ray, if you don't mind, we'll put that in. Okay? Now we'll take some time, wash our knife off, and put our cutting board into the wash so that we don't have to worry about it. And then we'll go into now making our marinade. Okay, now with our marinade for our tartare, I'm going to use a couple of different ingredients. And the first ingredient that we're going to start with is our grapeseed oil. Okay, we're using grapeseed oil because it doesn't have any flavor whatsoever. Okay, some people say yes, we want to use a little olive oil, but olive oil has some flavor to it, and I don't want that flavor to come into what we're trying to do today. So we're going to start off with some grapeseed oil, about 2 teaspoons of grapeseed oil. We're going to use about 1 teaspoon of our sesame oil. We're going to use some sambal, which is an Asian chili sauce. Okay, we're going to add some of that in. It's going to give it a little bit of heat, not too much. Then we're going to add in some mirin, which is a sweet rice wine. Next, we'll put in some ponzu. Ponzu is actually soy sauce that has a little bit of citrus in it. Okay, we'll put that in. And then we're also going to add in just a little bit of orange zest as well. Okay, we'll take our whisk and whisk that around just like so. And now that we've done that, we can go ahead and bring back out our salmon. Okay, now that we have our salmon out of the refrigerator, we're going to go ahead and add a couple of ingredients to our salmon. First thing we're going to add is a little bit of chives and green onions that we've cut up. Okay. We're going to add that in. It does two things. It's going to add a little flavor. Well, really three. It adds flavor, a little contrast as far as texture, because it's going to add a little crunch to it. And then it's going to also add some color, which is wonderful. Because as you know, we eat with our eyes before we eat with our mouth. Next, we're going to add in some fresh ginger. I love ginger, so we're going to add a little bit more since I love it, okay? And then we're going to go ahead and add in some of our marinade to that. Now, we're not going to use all of our marinade because we're also going to use that marinade to actually sauce our plate once we're done. So we're going to take some of that with our orange zest, the sambal, and all of that good stuff and put it right into our bowl. Then we're going to go ahead and mix that around just like so. Okay. And because we have the ponzu in there, which already is a little salty, we're not going to add a whole lot of salt to it. But one thing that we definitely want to do is to add a little bit of salt and pepper to this. Not a whole lot though, because you have to be cognizant of your ingredients. And I know that one of our ingredients for sure has a high sodium content, which would be our ponzu, and the sambal also has some salt in it. Now that we have this, as you can see, we have everything put together and it looks really, really good. The next thing that we want to do is to take our plating, take our plate. We're going to put a little mold. If you don't have a ring mold like this, you can go right to the store and go right in the section where they have the cupcake section. And you can find little metal cups, the little aluminum cups, and you can put all of your tartare right inside of that cup, turn it over, and then it'll come right out as a nice little mold. But today, we're going to go ahead and fill up our mold and with our tartare. So let's start with that. I'm going to put it right in the center and pile it up. And it's okay when you unmold it if it falls apart a little bit. You just have to go with the flow sometimes. And what I'm doing is kind of setting you up. So if I pull this out and it falls out a little bit, then I've already prepared you for it. Okay, so now, once you have all your pieces in, you want to give it a nice little push so that everything can kind of stick together. All right, I'm gonna move this out of the way. Now the next thing that you want to do is go ahead and start to sauce your plate. Now what I've already made is what I call an aioli. Okay, it's a Thai red curry aioli, and what it is actually mayonnaise. It has red Thai curry paste, a little pickled ginger juice. You know, the ginger that you find at the sushi place, well, you can find that right at your grocery store, and take some of the juice from that. And we're also going to use a little bit of our ponzu in there as well. Okay, and we're going to take that and we're going to take and make a nice little, now that's not what we want trying to do. What we're going to do is take that and make a nice little design right on our plate. And it's always good to use a squeeze bottle because it's very precise and it helps you to make your plate look very, very nice and very decorative. Because again, what do? We eat with our eyes before we eat with our mouths. Am I right? So now that we have that, we can go ahead and take our tuna. Boom, there we go. All right. Now, the next thing that we're going to do is take some ribbons of cucumber, put that right on top, just like so. All right. Now, once we have that, then we're going to go back with our marinade and just drizzle it right across the top of our salmon tartare. Because now what you're actually doing is you're seasoning up your garnish. And then we're going to finish it off with a few of our wonton chips, because you're going to need that to go right inside and to taste your tartare. And there you are. your Asian-inspired salmon tartare with wonton chips and your red Thai chili aioli. Now, we'll come back. When we get ready to come back, what we're going to do is take that salmon, we're going to crisp up that skin, and I'm going to show you how to make that watermelon salsa. So stay tuned until we come back. Thank you.
Fresh thinking is being served at Miami-Dade College. Create your own recipe for success in the evolution of food culture at the Miami Culinary Institute. Learn the skills you need to jumpstart your career in the culinary arts. Turn green into gourmet and celery into salary. Miami Culinary Institute. Food, culture, innovation. Visit us at miamidadeculinary.com. Register now. Miami Culinary Institute.
Welcome back to Soul Food. Right now, we're going to take this salmon and we're going to crisp the skin. You know, sometimes when you go to a restaurant and you're sitting there and you're eating the salmon and they give it to you not in your traditional way with the meat side up, but they actually give it to you with the skin side up, and that skin is so nice and crispy. Today, I want to show you how you can do that at home. The first thing that you want to do is to take your salmon and you want to pat it dry, just like so, with a paper towel. Moisture is the enemy of the crispy skin on a piece of salmon. So you want to take that moisture out of there. And then the next thing that you want to do is to take a little salt and just put right over the top of that skin. And you want to go ahead and put it inside the refrigerator and let it sit for maybe about 2 to 3 minutes. What the salt does is it actually draws out more of the moisture off of that salmon. And then you go back with your paper towel and you pat it dry again. That way now that skin is as dry as you can possibly get it, okay? Now when you're seasoning it, you don't necessarily want to put your pepper and your salt on the skin. You want to just use a little bit of salt. You don't want to use the pepper because the pepper will burn. You can add a little pepper to the flesh side when you're cooking it, but not to that skin side. So let's go ahead and get started. We've already dried this off, so now we can go ahead and season it. We're going to go ahead and use a little bit of salt, okay? And we'll flip it over, take some of that salt, and put right on the flesh side. And remember, you always want to season both sides. Why? Because you're eating both sides. So why not season both sides? And then we'll move over to our pan. And in our pan, we've already added our grapeseed oil to our pan. And as you see, it's nice and hot, okay? And you want to go ahead and take that fish. You can test it. The way to test it is just to let it touch. And if you hear that sizzle, then you're in business. Now, when you put that fish down, you want to put it down away from you. And the reason you want to put it away is so that that oil doesn't splash back on you, okay? So here we are. We're putting it down in our pan, just like so. And we're going to let that go. Normally, you want to let that go for maybe about 3 to 4 minutes. And then that's going to get real nice and crispy. Then we'll flip it over and then go right into putting it into the oven so that it can finish off. But meanwhile, to go along with this nice crispy salmon, what we're going to do now is make a watermelon salsa that has so much flavor to it. It's incredible. The first thing that we want to do is we want to take about 3 cups of our watermelon, seedless watermelon, add that to a bowl. Then we want to use about a half of a bell pepper. And we want to do a julienne cut, which is a thin slice. Okay, we're going to add those in. We're going to add some of one of my favorite ingredients, ponzu. Put that in. That's about a 1/4 cup of ponzu that we're using. Jalapeno pepper, seedless. Well, it's not seedless. We're going to take the seeds out and mince it up. So that's going to give us a little pop to it. A little bit of orange zest for the surprise flavor. And as you see, this is a very, very quick recipe. We're going to use some julienne of red onions. Okay, red onions is just going to give it that really, really nice pop that we're going to look for. Cilantro. We're going to do a couple of things. We're going to give it some nice color and some wonderful flavor. Then we're going to use some pickled ginger and the juice from that pickled ginger in this recipe. And last but not least, we're going to use a little bit of agave nectar and put that in. So we're dealing with spicy and sweet right here. And you always want to add just a little bit of salt and a little pepper, okay? And you want to give that a stir. And if you can just take a look at all of those colors and see how pretty that is, okay? And what's going to happen is because you've added that salt in there, what it's going to do is it's going to actually start to draw out the juices from every single item that's inside of this salsa. Your peppers, your onions, and especially that watermelon, okay? So now, what we'll do is take and put this to the side and take a look at our salmon and see what that looks like. And right now, it looks like we may be ready to go ahead and give that a turn over, okay? So you want to make sure that you have a metal spatula. You don't want to use a rubber spatula, something that's very, very sturdy. And you put your hand right on top like so, and come right underneath that skin and turn it over, and there you are. Nice, crispy skin, okay? Now you're going to let it go ahead and cook on the flesh side for another 2 minutes. And once that 2 minutes is up, then what you're going to do is go ahead and take that and put it right inside the oven for 400 degrees. And you're going to cook that for approximately about 5 minutes until it's done. Now, once it's done, if you would bring that over for me. Once it's done, this is what you have. You're going to have your nice crispy skin. Salmon is nice and done. Underneath is nice and done as well. And you have great caramelization. So you can actually present this salmon on either side, either the flesh side or the skin side. But because of the recipe that we're doing today, we're going to present it on the with the skin side up, okay? Now, the last thing that you want to do is take some of this wonderful salsa that we have and you want to plate. Now, when you're plating, you don't want to put a bunch of it right on top because then you're going to totally destroy the visual of that skin. But you want to have a little bit on there just as garnish. But what we're going to do is circle our plate around with our salsa, just like so. And look at the color that gives our plate. Beautiful, beautiful color. And that's what it's all about because, as we say, you're eating with what? Your eyes before you actually taste it. So take a look at that. Now we're going to take a little bit of our salsa and put right on top like so and use a little bit of that juice. And then we want to go in. Sometimes you need to go in there with your hand instead of a spoon. And we'll take a little bit of our bell pepper, put on top, let that little piece stand up in the air like that. And a little piece of our onion, and a little bit of our orange zest, just like so. And then we'll go ahead and hit it with a little bit more of our juice to go around our plate. And there we are. There you have it. That is our crispy salmon with our watermelon relish. And again, I'm Richard Ingraham. This is Soul Food. Thanks for coming, and I'll see you next time.